as clever as can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius, he's got a plugin.
That's right. Okay. Hey, good morning. It's Spence. It is Friday, April 10th, 2026. It's 10:05. I have a little tiny bit of a late start. Somebody came to the door just as I was about to start the show. Very excited today. The topic is kind of a roundup, as I often need to do, because the problem is we're moving so fast, so furious, that I almost have to kind of go back to square one every so often on Fridays to sort of bring everybody into where we're at. And today I want to talk about full business solutions, or just a few words away. I think this week was the week that I finally achieved some of the foundational goals that I had been talking about for a long time. So today I'm going to not only show you some of the components that are now in the system, but also real world examples from some of our past clients and use cases of Fernando is now essentially the agentic frontman for running the show, and you can call Fernando whatever you want. But just with a few prompts, we've got a system that is full round trip. Bonus surprise, I'm going to talk about the fact that I've now got a direct e-commerce solution using Stripe Gateway, which is not a replacement for WooCommerce, but it is an alternative to WooCommerce in situations like I'm going to describe, where Fernando creates a full business solution for something that is, let's say, singular membership. Like I'm going to show you Book Flipper, or I'll show you the Cyrano or the Coach. I'm also going to show you that I've got a full-blown replacement for all of the learning management systems, all of the promotional systems. And I want to talk a little bit of a philosophy. So I'm going to start with a little like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Like Mr. Rogers used to, when I was a kid, have his thing. Can you guys, whoever is here, say if the sound and everything else is good? I think we're good, just because I'm looking at it on the other computer, but just validate for me that your sound and everything else is good. Also, for some reason, as usual, I seem to always have myself logged into the wrong account, so I can't comment, but let me just get that squared away and we'll jump in. Thanks, Lloyd. I always wonder why I can't keep myself logged in. Chrome with Google has this thing, as you probably know. Good morning. They want to log you into your particular Google account, even though I use one account for YouTube, one account for whatever. It wants to like continually bounce you around, and it sort of creates the scenario where I'm trying to use the WP Launchify account. But okay, so let's start with a little teeny tiny bit of philosophy, because one of the things that I think is relevant is the conversations that you've been seeing. If you watch the media this week, news about Anthropic suggesting that they've come up with a new LLM engine called Mythos that was so scary, so capable, made Opus look like he was in grade school, that they had to actually build a system called Glasswing, where allegedly they are releasing, good morning, Claude, that they were releasing Mythos to a bunch of influential companies that were building stuff, so that they could build systems to prevent what they call like a 0-day scenario, which is to say, kind of reads like this. Listen, in the lab, we've built this Frankenstein monster, and it's so smart that we're pretty sure it's going to escape. And when it escapes, it's going to go on its own around the countryside, killing all the townspeople. So we're releasing a tool to you to build protection against the Frankenstein that we have tied up in our basement. Like, we're in wild territory. Why is this relevant? Well, what I can say to you is that this last week, I have been using not just the frontier models, and when I say frontier model, I mean the leading models. So I've been using not just the frontier models from Anthropic or even OpenAI. I never use Perplexity ever, Gemini. But I've been using the esoteric models, and the esoteric models are the ones that are either hosted, or they're the ones that we'll call an inference. Inference meaning that you are using the model on some system like an open router where you access the LLM, but you're not necessarily using their platform. You're speaking to the brain put into a car of your choosing. And what I'm finding is it's remarkable. First of all, I was able to finally achieve what I was worried about from last week, which was that I'm able to use virtually free models for a lot of stuff really powerfully. And I will show you what I mean, both for the dating app and the image creation, but also for the logic of the instructions that come inside of Fernando's brain. But I was also able to achieve really good outcomes using Composer 2, which is the default homebrew LLM that comes inside of Cursor. I was able to achieve outstanding results using Goose when I selected using something like GLM5, which is one of the leading non-frontier models, but in an inference way. In other words, Goose was the car, the driver was GLM5, and using some of the things that we've talked about before, I was able to have Goose build crazy cool pages. Let's turn on the screen share so I can demonstrate some stuff live, because I know if I talk too much, it gets like snory time. The thing that's been really remarkable for me this week, though, I've been having real life client calls with clients who are doing business solutions as well as VIP stuff. And the output has been remarkable. I have a lot to show you. And today is a little bit of a, not a wander around, but it's a little bit of a, I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey. And I'm going to try to keep it kind of low key. By the way, I want to show you this too. This is, I'm arranging screens here. Let's see if I can do this one full size. There we go. This is something pretty remarkable. This is, for those of you who are using Cursor, and by the way, of those guys, there's about 5 or 6 of you guys live this morning. Are any of you guys using Cursor? You know, Cursor is my main car. And let's define back for a second what I'm talking about. The desktop tool of choice is the car that you and I are driving in. You could have Goose or Cursor or Claude Desktop or Claude Code or Perplexity's desktop tool. The car is the desktop agentic tool. The driver is the LLM engine. Good question. Do I prefer Cursor over Goose? That is really a great question, because this is not a question of prefer over. It is a complement, and I'm going to show you which ones I use for which reasons. This would be like a question, and your question is awesome. It'd be like, do you prefer sushi over oatmeal? I eat them at different times for different reasons, and I use Cursor and Goose at different times for different reasons. So let me actually highlight some of the distinctions. And before I lose my train of thought on this, what we're looking at here, though, is Cursor released version 3.0 this week, including what this is. This is an agentic view, an agentic panel. And what's interesting to me is this is their recognition. This is something that you could do alternative to the normal workspace. So for example, on the left, the orange thing, this is a workspace, which I have associated to a particular, usually it's a repository in GitHub and it's one project. Sometimes there's an exception to that. This black panel is not a singular workspace. Rather, it is these little toggles, you'll notice, of many workspaces. Why? Because this is how they're making it possible for me or you to gather up agents across a lot of workspaces to work in coordination. And I'm really quite excited about this, because here in one view, for example, I can open up and do various things. I can move, here's my files, I need to open up the chat window for it. I don't know how to do the chat window for it. I'm still learning the interface. So I'll just explain what I know, and then I'll figure out the rest as I go. On the left are multiple agents from multiple workspaces. So you know how I say Fernando, Bernardo, Salvador, whatever. Okay, here's the MinuteLaunch, YouTube, WP Launchify videos. This is the agent that I normally have do all of my preparation for today's shows, right? Create the blog post, do the StreamYard notice. Here is the guy that's working on the MinuteLaunch shop. Here's the guy that's working on Fluent MCP. I can see all of the agents in one view. And if I was able to figure out, and I'm not 100% sure why I can't, if I was able to figure out on the right side how to turn on the code view, I'm looking for commands and I don't know. This is one of the tricks, by the way, of I see a new chat, but I wanted to see the old chats. Figuring out how to toggle on and off cursor is 99% of the effort. But once you figure out the shortcuts, it's pretty awesome. So I'm really pretty excited about this because this is going to give me, I think, my favorite view to orchestrate the whole company. Now, I want to explain the comparative here. Like, this is orchestrating my whole company instead of having 10 windows open, even though I like that sometimes. I can have one window open. I'm like in the factory sitting in the top floor manager's office looking down at the different divisions and they're doing their thing. I really feel like this is an actual good idea. I just have to figure out how to style it. I literally installed this morning and I haven't figured it out. The nice thing is it's not an alternative to the workspaces. I can still view things in the workspace view. Okay. I want to answer your question about why do I use cursor versus Goose, and in what situation? Cursor is outstanding when I want to use one of the frontier models or one of the models that's included in Cursor. I have tried and tried and tried and researched, and they absolutely do not respect using any model that's not part of the models that they allow you. And here's the list of all the models. They do have some weird stuff that may work, like Kimi, but for the most part, when they say add custom model, I think they're just full of shit. I just have not been able to get it to work, and nobody that I can read online has been able to get it to work. There's always something that breaks. So I'm accepting the fact this is a car that I pay $200 a month for in the Ultra plan that gives me access to all of the frontier models, which is fine. But in reality, I've been using for expediency and for cash value Composer too. And I've been actually having really good success with it. I do find that its personality is awkward, whereas Opus 4.6 is fun and intelligent and jovial, and it gets my jokes, and he's an incredible coder. Composer 2 is all business, totally gets none of my jokes, doesn't call me nicknames, doesn't even understand it when I give him images, what's in the image, unless I explain what's in the image. But for coding, for just getting the job done, he is actually building really well. And the good news is my budget is, I'm at April 10th, and I'm still only at like 50% usage of my $200 Ultra plan. Compare that to last month when I went on a bender with Opus 4.6 and I spent $3,200. I'm going to say about Goose in a second. Marcus is saying, is it the window box next to the three dots on the top right? That's a good question. I'm going to work it out, and I'll come back to you guys, Marcus, because I missed your thing when I was actually opening the agent window. The thing about the cursor guys is they're really smart, but they remind me of my kids when it comes to online tools like Snapchat. I use Snapchat like a blind person wandering through a shopping mall. They just go twist and turn and up. And of course, Dad, you got to tap twice on Tuesday and turn it upside down. And I'm like, what? Skeuomorphic for the win. The interface of Cursor is freaking insane for its hidden tools. once you learn a few of the secrets, it's amazing. So I kind of have to give in to the fact that they know what they're doing. But boy, oh boy, would it be nice if they just made it easier to understand for us geezers. Okay, let's bring out Goose. Goose, I love for maybe a couple reasons. Number one, I love it for the fact that this son of a bitch is free. He has no agenda. It was Jack Dorsey's thing. And man, oh man, are they coming up with cool stuff. So if you go to the extensions and you want to just browse like ready-made extensions, right? I literally can go through a library of really, really powerful, awesome stuff. I mean, this is not just, it's some free project. I think because it's Jack Dorsey, it's got a lot of pre-made stuff, but it's super flexible because as I showed you, I was able to make the Fluent MCP into an extension piece of cake. So if we go to the back end of MinuteLaunch, and you guys know this if you're using my systems, we already have a Fluent MCP connector that is an extension for Goose. So you go to Fluent MCP. Sorry. First of all, I don't know why Fluent MCP is off. That's interesting. It's not off, but I think John, if you're here, John mentioned to me yesterday a question, and I thought he was being sarcastic, sort of funny. Haha. I was working on the Fluent MCP, and the knucklehead who was working on it broke it from being displayed. That was last night. John, my apologies in advance if you're here. So I'll have to fix that this morning. So let me give you an example, by the way, of how my workflow works with this, because this is actually an opportune moment. And I am going to continue my discussion of Goose. But like, let's say I take this one. I'm going to open up the Fluent MCP agent. Notice it's important that I make sure I'm on the latest version of the plugin manager. And I see Fluent MCP is here, but he's not showing up in the left. This means that this knucklehead, when he was making some improvements, by the way, at the request of a customer, and he was making some improvements yesterday, this knucklehead broke something. So here's what happens. First of all, I'm going to go and I'm going to put him on the left side. And I'm going to say, let's do a new chat window too. So I typically will do this chat window like this, and I'll eliminate the chat guys on the live, and I'll be in Composer 2. I'll be like microphone. Good morning. We've got a problem. Something about the changes that were made to MinuteLaunch Fluent MCP 2.6.10 have broken its display on the left-hand side. Instead of it displaying in the admin menu when you're using the MinuteLaunch plugin manager, now it is no longer displaying, even though I can see it in the dashboard and it is active. It's just not showing the admin menu. Can you please check why that might be? My suspicion is it's something simple in the admin display code. Typically, there's either a conflict or a load issue. It is showing the MinuteLaunch Fluent MCP Pro, so make sure there's no collision. And this happened sometime around the update to 2.6.10. Okay. So I give him an instruction. This agent with Composer 2 has been vested with responsibility for this particular plugin, the MinuteLaunch Fluent MCP. Now, I want to share with you guys, it's not part of the public domain, but if I go to Pufka, which is my server, I've got a component here that lets me manage these components for thousands of customers. You'll notice I'm on 7.076 on the main plugin manager, and we'll notice we got Fluent MCP, which I want to check here. Fluent MCP is 2.6.10. When he does a change, he can post to the API server, or I can manually, the changes. And in doing so, then anybody can refresh and automate and update their plugins. What I was going to say is I'll come back to this in a second after he's baked the solution. What I like about Goose, besides the availability of extensions and being able to make it, he has all of the tools we want and need. Like I can create an asynchronous schedule, things that he'll do while I'm sleeping. I can create apps. This is pretty awesome. Apps are things that can live on your desktop, if you will, and work with your MCP servers. I think by default, it's got a chatbot, and I think it's got a little clock. Let's see if it loads it up. Recipes are things that I've actually been using. So this is the situation where I teach him how to build a particular website or page a certain way, like the page builder skill. I love this because this is the same metaphor that we've got in all of our other cars, Claude, Cursor, and so forth, but it's very flexible. It's got lots of neat parameters. It gives me, as a person who likes to tinker, all the controls I need up front. The chat experience is really cool because you can see here, I was working with Anne, and I had a chat going with her that demonstrated some of these pre-baked design skills. What do I mean by that? Well, if we go over here to GitHub, there is a repository that I've starred that allows us to use design skills so that we can tell Goose, this is exactly a website design that I want to clone. And he has zero mistakes. I mean, nearly zero mistakes. If I go under, let's see if I go to star. I don't know why in GitHub I'm having trouble finding my starred stuff. Maybe I got to go here. Hold on. Oh, here, stars. Another interface where I'm an old geezer. Awesome Design MD. So this is available to all of you guys. It's at this URL. I'll copy and paste it in the chat. This allows you to do exactly what I'm doing with Goose, and I suggest you try it. Here's what happens. They have taken, as an example, like I've shown you before, so this isn't, they don't own this concept, and this is something I've shown you for, let's say Claude's website. And I mean Anthropic, right? So if I go to Claude, and my browser is just a tiny bit overloaded from a memory standpoint, so I'm a little worried I'm going to go into a panic. But if I was at the homepage of Claude, and I don't know if that'll let me get here. Hold on. It's just not letting me get here. I'm not sure why, but you kind of know the gist. Let's just say, here, oh, here's a screenshot of it. Here's Claude's window. What happens is with Get Design, they've just made GitHub repository that's available for anybody to use. And notice they've got the colors, the palette of fonts, they've got the cards, they've got all the design components. So they've done essentially a markdown that's publicly available that all one needs to do is copy from any of the websites that they've done. I think they've done like 20 or 30. And you can do the same thing by just modifying this to your own clients or your own thing. And what's happened is I go into Claude and I had chosen, notice, current model, Xi GLM5 from OpenRouter. I can use any OpenRouter model, but this one is the one that is not Frontier and the cost is really, really low. If I go to OpenRouter models and I search for GLM5, oh, it's right there at the top, actually. It just showed up. Oh, they got a new one. It's GLM 5.1 even. So I got to try this sucker. Notice there's a little clipboard here. I can just copy the clipboard and paste this in. And this was just released. So, oh, I'm going to actually try this. It's pretty exciting. I go here to GLM5 and notice change model. All I got to do is X out the GLM5, paste in this, and say use it. Select model. That's pretty freaking easy. Goose makes that pretty freaking easy. I don't have to commit to anything. I just can swap it out. Now, what I did is I asked Goose, are you still connected to this website I had that I was using for demonstrating design stuff? It was called Goose 2, I believe. Yeah, Goose 2. So I have a demo setup, Goose 2 on InstaWP. Now it's called the MinuteLaunch the product add-on site. I'll talk about that in a second. But let's open this up and let's just give him a prompt. I'm going to go back here to the design. I'm going to give him this thing and I'm going to say, hey, good morning. I'm on my live office hours. Can you actually use the same goose2.instawp.co and this design to make a new page that has all of the style of the Claude website in the markdown, but make the headline that says, hey, everybody, it's Spence from office hours. Okay. I am not interested in demonstrating more design because we have crossed the bridge of design by a million miles. But what I am trying to show you is what I like about Goose is not only is he free, but I can set up a recipe and I can give him, for example, the markdown design. Then I can get on my phone and I can just give him instructions and remotely monitor stuff. If you combine that with his capability of using the non-frontier models, you combine that with the ease of using extensions. And the only one thing I have not done yet, which I'd like to figure out, is how to change his interface. And I'm pretty sure that there's a way for me to modify his interface because I'm not a fan of this black and white. But I do love the controls. I mean, he's got like this bottom bar here that lets me get to my file system, lets me get to my, attachments. He runs in a way that shows me just what I want. He doesn't do weird stuff like very rarely does he ever tell me he's out of context or anything because he's designed in a different way. So I do like Goose. I do like that I can make him the way I want, although I would like to figure out the color scheme thing. And I do love the fact that he's free and mobile friendly. So where I've been using him is for esoteric jobs, but I feel like I'm going to use him more and more. Except what I want you to understand is meet Fernando 2. Meet the new Fernando. Like the future is not, in my opinion, it is not Claude or Cursor or Anthropic. It's Fernando. Because here's why. While he's making that page, let's go to my customer, Hudson. Here's the latest version of Fernando. Fernando is what we were calling MinuteLaunch Coach. Coach is now called Fernando or Ask Fernando, Meet Fernando. In other words, just like you got Goose and Claude and everybody else, if you have Fernando, it's, in my opinion, like I spoke about last week, easier to understand the concept of this is the car and the driver's in it. But the difference is my Fernando, just like Goose, is going to have the same ability like Goose to choose from any model. Right now, I just have a few frontier models in here, but Fernando is going to do everything that Goose can do probably, but better, because when it comes to the WordPress site, he's going to have connections built in for any Tom, Dick, or Harry to just go to the WordPress website and literally open up Fernando, put him on the desktop. And the places where Fernando shines, and I'm going to use him in the windowed version here, is Fernando has all of the insane capabilities that I've been able to build into him, not the least of which is the ability to do something for business that's quite remarkable. Here in this right-hand panel for this customer is the capability of taking any document. If we, for example, took a real estate form document and it had to be exactly the right format, like Lloyd, you know this from government stuff, but anybody who's been in real estate, there are certain things that have to be a certain way, right? Like Chicago MLS contract. This has to look exactly this certain way for real estate, not Chicago soccer. The Chicago Association of Real Estate contract. It has to look a certain way or else it will not be valid. Now, this is just a different model, but what I'm saying is the new Fernando has a capability in him with a thing called the PDF workbench. I had a client who has this need, and this is a universal need, where, let me go to the actual version of it, where this is called the PDF workbench. This is where you as the human or Fernando can take any PDF, drop it in, and convert it to what we call baseline. That is, it's the thing underneath that, like the PDF, acts as a placeholder to show the baseline text and all of the baseline fields. Then what you can do is tell Fernando in plain language what you want to use to fill it in. So in this example, he was making a document where I'm filling in with these prospective buyers. And we're working on him tweaking just a couple little things. But what's important to notice, and let's go into expanded view, notice a couple things. That he's still got a little tweak on this where he cut the line short, but he's making it where the actual content is filling in the form fields above the lines. That is something that is really hard to do and tedious. But what's interesting and why this is important is that we are not going to need to have Goose do that or Cursor do that or Claude Desktop do that. You're going to have Fernando do that in the WordPress website. And then what's interesting is if you look at the tray, here is the media. This is images or the original PDFs. Here are documents or docs. These are things that are Google Docs, or these are the content that you bring in from a PDF. Templates are the baseline things that you use that, yes, it came from a PDF, but you need it to look exactly as the original. The thing that he did that was interesting, and this is just for one client, was he made it for this client that you could actually fill out any number of baseline contracts by putting in an MLS source. Like, for example, if I go to the media library, I might have an MLS sheet, an image that came from the MLS that has details about a particular house or location or land. Well, 1 + 1 = 2. That's what we were practicing here. If we took an MLS blank contract and saved it as a baseline document, template, I should say, then Fernando can either take an MLS listing sheet or he could take conversational stuff and he can actually fill out everything that's necessary. So we've been having really, really good luck with this. And what's amazing is we can also use all the other stuff that we have available, right? So I have access inside of here to not only previously made, blocks and skills and documents and letters and format. I also have access to the people. So once we get the client into the CRM, it's easy to do everything else from there because all of the normal documents of running your business can now be in Fernando's brain, and Fernando can produce everything and anything you wanted, right? So if I told him, hey, Fernando, I'm on an office hours right now. Use the same contract, but fill it out with new people. Make the buyer Spencer Foreman, Forman, and offer $1 million for this property. Okay. Make sure on the baseline that you extend the layout to the edges like the original. You look like you cramped it up this time and cut it short, but otherwise you did a good job of putting the fields in place. So all I'm saying is, this is one of the advancements that's quite remarkable. And referring back to like the Anthropics worried about Mythos, I'm using just Claude Opus 4.5 here, but through the API. And it's really not expensive to do stuff like I'm doing, but it's really nice to have a frontier model because he's just more clever. He will remake this contract. It'll be ready to be saved. But then once I save it and share it, if I'm in preview mode, I can just send it through an email. I can just print it. In other words, I could tell Fernando on the phone with my headset, I'm at a particular place. I want to make an offer right now. Here's the address, or here's the MLS thing that I'll send you a picture of from my phone. And he can draft the contract ready for it to be printed. And if you think about it, that's 99.9% of the hard stuff of what a real estate agent or broker is doing. But because I've already got the information probably about the people that I'm sitting with, he'll also have them in the CRM, and I know where to email it. for their approval or signature, or I know where to send it to the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, and so forth. Okay. So hopefully that was a great question. Hopefully that explains that I do love what Goose can do. Let's ask him if he's done. Did you finish the page? Just knock it out already and then give me the link. I am quite sure that when he has little hiccups and doodads, it could be because I switched to GLM 5.1. I'm not sure. He's talking about stuff. I'm going to say, you've got the REST API connections, use them. I'm just going to remind him, because one of the things that I just did there, and I want to keep you guys informed, is that I switched agents midstream. So typically what, in fairness, I should do is I should go to this website and I should just copy what is also the new metaphor, which is if I have got a desktop agentic tool, I should give them the MinuteLaunch lab connection if they don't already have the Fluent MCP connection. Why? Because that way they can directly talk to the website and do the work that they need to do, which I'm going to go into in a second for some of these other tools. This means that we've got a capability now of, you don't have to make it so complex with setting up the Fluent MCP. Instead, what you can do is just grab the connector that you need for that particular job that you're doing and just say, here, this is the walkie-talkie. You can go ahead and design pages here. You can go ahead and use this custom plugin or this application. You don't have to necessarily pack those big 5 suitcases of the whole MCP in the back of the trunk anymore. And I think this is something that I'm going to speak to more in the near future, but it's been really working out well. Okay. So let's see if he creates it with what he's got. In the meantime, I want to show you some of these applications that are the result of working with an intelligent tool in the middle, especially he's having a rough time of it, which is interesting. I'm not sure why he's having a rough time of it, but let's see if he figures it out. Okay, let me move on while I'm waiting for him. First of all, let's see if we have any changes here to our new contract. Okay, I want you to notice, if you can see, he did one thing wrong, which was that he just truncated this line, but these are little nuanced things, but he did change it. Spencer Foreman, and he was supposed to change it to $1 million. I don't know if he did that properly. I paid a $50,000 earnest money. The point of the story here is, let's see if it says 1 million. I'm going to ask him. The point of it here is that I'm trying to get this baseline PDF capability perfect so that you or anyone else can just drop in a PDF. It will make an exact duplicate that's available. No, he didn't get the price right. He's still 700,000. And then you can just change the actual details and create essentially a data set. And then that way you have essentially now a living document that acts as a repository for any new data you put in every time you want to have a new contract written. That is a powerful tool for a real estate broker. Notice also this new interface here. I should mention, my client demanded, and I agreed, that we have an interface that allows him, much like using Gemini ChatGPT, to manage any number of projects. You can always look at in chat view, but if you go in project view, notice he can name any project he wants, and each project can have an unlimited number of chats. Each of those can have their own media, documents. You can rename it, you can delete it. And the point of this is that that's an organizational system for this client that I thought made sense for everybody, in addition to the notifications. So the notifications will be like if you're using your remodeler plugin, or if you're using Fluent as a repository for any other notices that you want to get, like somebody is trying to reach you or somebody just submitted a new lead. This interface will work on a phone to allow somebody to very quickly and easily see, I want to work on this particular project and I want to work with this particular document or this particular set of facts and so forth. Okay, so very easy to keep track of stuff all in one spot, but the higher level capability of both bringing in the old world documents and working with them combined with the skills makes it ideally you're not going to have to use the Goose. Now, Goose is having trouble. So I'm going to give him a break here for a second because I think in fairness, I gave him an impossible task because there was no connection or tool or he's just shit in the bed. So I'm going to just start over like this. Let's go to start new chat. And I want to show you like what I mean with the MCP. I'm sorry, what I mean with the MinuteLaunch Lab. If I go into the MinuteLaunch Product Plus, which is the thing we did for the modifying, any product in WooCommerce into having all these extra features. This is an example of me last week saying we can replace, good morning, Julie. We can replace products in the WordPress ecosystem with our own custom versions of it. Really super simple. Well, let me show you what I mean with the lab component. If you go into, let's do something crazy here. I'm thinking out loud. How do I want to bake this? I'm going to change gears. Sorry, guys. I'm going to change gears. What I want to do instead is show you a thing that I'm actually working on. Okay. So here's a product. I'm going to come back to Goose, I promise, but I'm going to show you something. Here is a product that I'm developing for the open market called MinuteLaunch Shop. And this is an example of a full-baked solution that I don't know if Marie is here today or if she's watching, but this is inspired by some of my clients like Marie, but it's also inspired by a real-life story that I talked about last week, which was I love some of my clothes. And when I go out socially, I like to wear a sport coat or certain types of jeans. I know my sizes, I know my shape, I know which things fit me well. So essentially, I was looking for a situation where I had this sport coat that I love, but I've been wearing it quite frequently, and I wanted to get something like it that was in a different color. The thing that I was looking for was an Andrew Feza sport coat. Andrew Feza no longer really sells sport coats. I mean, well, actually, I take it back. No, they don't. See, Andrew Feza is not around anymore. But man, oh man, does it fit me. I mean, it just fits me like a glove. The problem is modern sport coats, I think, are sized for a different type of human being. I'm just bigger, muscular. I'm 6'2", 235, pretty muscular on top, I like to think, because I go to the gym and stuff. When I wear modern stuff in my 44 regular, it fits me like skin tight. So I wanted to find Andrew Feza. I asked the internet because I only had the tag inside of the jacket. Where can I find this? And it showed me kind of what you're seeing here. It's like, oh, Andrew Feza is available really on eBay because it's available used. What shocked me was that on eBay, things that would, like I'm showing you here, be, I don't know, 400, 300. I mean, like a new sport coat at Bloomingdale's comparable, definitely $350. Okay. I'm not a cheapskate, but I don't need a $350 blazer. By the way, this is what I was talking about. Like, look at the fit on this dude. You guys maybe have seen pictures of me. This would look different on a guy like me. I'm not this pencil thin dude. So the point of the story is, I said, wow, if I go to eBay, it turns out that Andrew Feza stuff might be like $27 in perfect condition, $34 in excellent condition. I'm like, what? Okay. I ended up deciding to build an application. The application was inspired by Marie, and it uses all the components that we've been talking about, which are in the MinuteLaunch laboratory, including the ability to have a connector that my tool is able to use in order to actually continue building. that is here, the Lab API. It gives you a disposable key, and it gives you a set of walkie-talkie instructions. And all that one needs to do is to literally go in and paste in the instructions, and then you put the key into you could give him the key, but he'll tell you he doesn't like that. But you can put it into what's called an ENV file or an ENV folder. ENV, like envelope. You can put a folder here, and then what happens is Claude or Cursor or whichever desktop tool you're using, Goose even, will keep your API key separate from the walkie-talkie instructions, but he can use the walkie-talkie instructions to continue to work on the plugin. So for example, here, this guy is building the MinuteLaunch shop, and I can say, did you push the new version? What's the new version? And he'll tell me what version he pushed up. I'm on 1.1.2 here, so he should have 1.1.3 because I was asking him for some changes. I'm being a little obtuse here, I get it, but I want to show you because this is the model. Not only can you talk to Fernando directly using an interface, just like I'm doing with this guy. And Fernando, by the way, is not yet enabled to do what I'm doing on the desktop, but he will be. But watch what happens if for some reason, I don't know why he's having connection issues, but if he answers me, hello, he will tell me what version he pushed up. He didn't just make the plugin as a zip file on my desktop. He actually has been instructed to modify the plugin's code on the working site so that we can make these changes very quickly and iteratively. And when he does, he saves the local copy and he follows the various procedures that I need. Notice whenever I have a live event, everything shits the bed. So let's do a new chat. Hi, something's wrong with your last chat. You seem to be pausing. Did you push up the live version of, I think it's 1.1.3? Okay, so he's searching. I'm going to refresh the page and see if that refreshes to 1.1.3 by itself. It does not. So he's at 1.1.2. Okay. So I'm going to say, okay, it seems that your last version was 1.1.2. Did you add the changes I asked you for in the interface? So what I had him do, and I'm going to explain to you how this thing works, is that I created this tool that allows me to find and manage my wardrobe, like when I was a kid, Garanimals, and to also be able to purchase through any source, new or used, the missing pieces, or have an invitation to my friends and family if they want to buy me for a gift, or in the future if I want to buy it. But it also has things in it, like, for example, if I want to go on a trip, it can plan my wardrobe and give me all of the things that I need. I'm going to take this, by the way, and I'm going to export the transcript. And this sometimes is at the end of like how much memory I have left. What I have to do is this. I take this and I'm going to copy the path, and I'm going to go back in and again, kind of clean up the interface with Control E. And I'm going to say to this new chat, I'm going to say, can you please look at the last thread and please make the changes that I asked for, including the side-by-side buttons, including getting rid of all that extra text. You didn't do any of that stuff. Do it right now because I'm on a live event. I want to show how you can edit live. Okay. So what happens is I tell him what I want done. Like, for example, I want him to remove this extra text, and I want these two buttons side by side, and I wanted to change some of these labels. He's taking it, and because he has the walkie-talkie, he doesn't need the MCP to do this. He can just use the REST API tools in that walkie-talkie, and he can make the changes. It's the same thing. It's just instead of having 5 suitcases full of tools for one site, I could just take a particular application I'm working on and give him specific tools to work on that job, and he can do it right away. And he can follow the things that I've told him, by the way, in the effing idiot folder. The effing idiot folder is how we keep him out of trouble. Notice this folder here. This has a set of instructions that he is supposed to load every time before he does anything. It keeps him from doing stupid stuff, allegedly, because if he actually loads that information, it says, don't do this and don't do that and don't do the other thing. But what's neat is this is the same thing like Goose can do. He can just get some jobs done, and you don't have to literally toggle on and off a bunch of MCP stuff. You don't have to load in the config file of the interface all this stuff. Now, let me pause and just say, because I want to show you a couple outcomes. Imagine all of the things that I'm doing with him, but we're going to have that in Fernando, and Fernando can just pop out, right? Whatever site he may be on. I think that's going to be an outcome that's right around the corner, super exciting, and not too difficult to do because we already have all of the pieces in place. Okay, so he's going to make this change. I want to show you as an example of an outcome why some of these things are cool. First of all, notice that this MinuteLaunch shop, while it's not in the MinuteLaunch plugin manager as a ready to use for you at the moment, it will be. MinuteLaunch shop is one of the tools I'm giving you that is a foundational framework for you to put your brand or your business in. So for example, I am doing an outcome for me, and I will be selling this as a standalone app, but I will also be putting these components in place so that you, through Fernando, can do the same thing and you can white label it for your customer. So for example, I have a domain name for this business. It's called Closet Wish. And the basic idea is for adults or for teens, because I'm doing a job with my son, my 15-year-old, for this. You set up your profile. My chest is 44, my waist is 36, inseam 36, neck 17 and a half, shoe size, and so forth. Then I set up my muscular build, warm, kind of seasonal color, because it's not the winter, skin tone medium, slightly tan. I put a headshot of me in to be used by the AI, and then the AI generates a description of me, my body, my build, my information. And then finally, I just say, do I have a shopping budget? Because I want to see whether this can find these awesome clothes for me on eBay that otherwise used to cost hundreds of dollars each. I can find them for tens of dollars. Then here's the neat part. Now what I do is I create my wardrobe. It's kind of like Garanimals. I have jackets, casual shirts, dress shirts, belts, slacks, trousers. I load up items that I have. Either I take pictures of my closet or I load up with things that I want to purchase that I know I'm going to get right now. When I do, I can use the built-in shopping feature. Now, this is the part that's really nice because let's say, for example, in my wardrobe, I'm missing some shoes. I don't have any Crocs. I don't know why I would wear Crocs, but I love them casually. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go shoe category. And my browser is a little slow because of, I could tell the memory is tenuous. There's the little flash. Okay, shoes. And I'm going to go Crocs. Okay. And I'm going to search either eBay, the web, Amazon, or a list of custom stores. So I can actually go to Crocs and put in their official website if I want. And I've built into this tool. Oh, there goes my browser. Browser just hiccuped. I'm worried that my browser is going to crash. So if it does, say love you. Okay, I'm going to put in crocs.com without all of this crazy spammy crap that it's got at the end of the URL. Okay. I'm going to save the store list. Now, if I search my stores for Crocs or yellow Crocs, whatever, it'll find it. I can also see if they're on eBay, right? So let's see what happens if I search my stores. Maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. If it doesn't, we'll go eBay or the web or Amazon. So it kind of maybe shows up, but I think I have maybe with the images. Let's go on eBay and see if anybody's got used Crocs, which for these kind of shoes might not be bad. Oftentimes shoes is a great place, is a great buy to get on eBay. So let's say, for example, I go, oh, these are fantastic. These Yukons. I want to add these to my closet, right? Or I can do it here, add to my closet. Now my wardrobe has some new shoes in it. All other things being equal. Not sure why that didn't work. I'm still building it, so let's see if I can do that again. This should add that to my wardrobe. Add to my closet. I'm going to add to my wardrobe. It's giving me a it's giving me a weird flash, like it's not working. So I'm not 100% sure if it is or isn't. I'm not sure why that's not working. I'll work on that later. But here's what happens next. Now I look to see if I can build an outfit. I want to have, like Steve Harvey said, if you have 5 colored suits, 5 colored dress shirts, 5 casual shirts, 5 pairs of slacks, 5 shoes, 5 belts, you can make 75 outfits. So I want to build outfits from the various components. So in this case, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bomber jacket. I'm going to take the bomber jacket and I'm going to do a white t-shirt and I'll put a brown belt on it, right? And I'll use, let's do black jeans, and I'll do these casual shoes. Now I want to say, where am I going to see myself? And I can be in a casual place or a custom place, right? Let's put me at a bar. I'm going to say, I'm at a bar having a toast with friends. What happens is it takes me and builds me in that location wearing these clothes so that I have a rendered outfit that it keeps track of which items and which situation that I might want to wear that. Why? Well, for me, first of all, it's fun to see what I look like in the clothes. Second of all, I have existential anxiety every time I go on a trip about packing. And I know Marie has plus size women, and she has people who make clothing for plus size women. And people want to see themselves in the clothes. But I also thought, wait, I can have a calendar of all of the various big events that I've got coming up, or my travel, or what I got. And I can have this thing know my entire closet inventoried. And it can tell me, just like when I was a kid, what clothes to pack or wear. But if I'm missing some clothes, I can also make a list that I can save and share to my friends for fun that says, boy, I sure wish I had that, official NFL Chicago Bears hat or something like that. And you don't have to be weird and greedy about it, but I'm saying you can actually share. So what is it that I'm showing you? I'm showing you an example of, this is a full application that's built with components that are all available inside of the laboratory that will have Fernando, that he can run this thing. Once I work out some of the details, you will be able to say to Fernando, I want to put together a shop situation and I want to collect money and I want to call the shop, mine is called Closet Wish, and I want to make a sales page that does this and that. Fernando will be able to take the components of anything like this, and as a metaphor, he doesn't have to invent the things that this does. You can say, you know what, Fernando, instead of the outfits area doing this, have it do that, and so forth. Now, here's what's interesting. I save this outfit. I can look at it full size. I can also browse through my other outfits and, look at all the details. Do I own this stuff? I can change the name of this, call it casual flight at the bar. Okay. And I can say as a category when and where I might want to wear this. I know this sounds crazy, but I actually do go no panic when I go on trips, because it's like, I don't want to pack more than a carry-on. And at the same time, here's me in some other outfits. At the same time, I'm like, I have got all these clothes in my closet. I never know what to wear and why to wear it. Like, this just can help me visualize and pull it out, right? And if I wanted to go shopping for a bathing suit or something else, it's a super neat idea. And I'm going to do something with my son with this, because if we go into the settings, you'll notice that I can white label the front end, and I can have a front end display that automatically turns this into an application. When I do that, notice where it says, like, apply the shortcode. I can have it where it automatically knows to put a front end with the display. I'll show you that in a second. So I've got a back end outcome that's enabled with a walkie-talkie to use with any desktop tool, but it also will be able to be used by Fernando internally, because he'll know about it, and he can use it to build a white label version of stuff that for you or your client gets really powerful outcomes fast. Now, let me talk about this while we're at that. I love WooCommerce. I am not going to stop using WooCommerce, but WooCommerce for, let's say, a singular subscription. I have a business that requires a singular subscription. Like, I want somebody to pay, $97 or something for getting access to my tool, my shop tool, or my coaching tool, or whatever. I thought to myself, it's really, really heavy to have to deal with all the WooCommerce. So instead, I built MinuteLaunch Stripe Gateway, which I am not in the business of doing transactional engines. It essentially is an interface to Stripe, because Stripe is very janky and hard to do. It has the MinuteLaunch Lab API, like I talked to you about, so that I have a tool who's developing it and making the changes, making it easier for me to iterate, which you will be able to do too. I could have Fernando, when he's set up, to do the iteration locally, same result. Remember, the only difference is the car. The driver is going to be the LLM I choose, whether it's Composer here or Opus. If I have Fernando, Fernando's brain is going to be Opus or GLM5 or whatever I choose. But what this does is it allows me to have an custom-made singular purchase or subscription system that can work internally as both a standalone, or it can work as a component that builds into whatever else that you've got. So for example, if I build the MinuteLaunch shop, call it Closet Wish, and I want somebody to pay, I can use the MinuteLaunch Stripe Gateway as an alternative to WooCommerce for a quick and easy checkout. And look how easy I've made this. I mean, this is actually working. Here's Book Flipper. That's one of the products I built. The Book Flipper itself, I can set the price and interface, all of this here locally in my WordPress site, but it does connect to Stripe. So if I open up Stripe, I have a test dashboard here. You will see this product really exists in Stripe, but we all know it's a pain in the ass to deal with Stripe, and I don't want to do that. So effectively, I've just created an API and a dashboard that brings it here. But the neat thing about this is, if I go back, I can test the checkout in a real product or in a simulation. And this is actually a better way to do things. If you have a singular membership, a singular solution for a customer, this means that you can boom, bam, boom, out the door, launch a product that's white label, that has an outcome, that's a mobile application, and has a payment method that tracks all of the results without having to load all of WooCommerce. Doesn't mean I don't love WooCommerce. It just means I'm saying this is an alternative, and it works pretty gosh darn good. And it has all of the pieces that you need and none of the ones you don't. This is a few thousand lines of code versus loading all of WooCommerce. But you can use WooCommerce too. And by the way, it does singular products, it does coupons, it does subscriptions. It gives you all of the information you need about the customers, about the orders. I mean, I just essentially modeled WooCommerce and made my own custom gateway for Stripe, and it's available as one of the components that you guys will have to use for delivering outcomes. Okay, let me share a couple other outcomes, but before I do, let's go and see my Cursor Desktop Guy updated to version 1.1.9 on the shop. So if we go to the shop, not product add-ons, if we go to shop, he did it 1.1.9. You can, that's really tiny, but while I was talking to you, he pushed the update, And now the stuff that I was asking him for, I can tell that it was done because I had asked him, for example, when we started and you're looking at the outfits, remember these buttons were above and below. By the way, look at this. I can use the suggest feature. The suggest feature, if he hasn't broken it, will recommend outfit combos to me that I can then look at, which I think is super cool. So let's take a look at one of the things he created as a recommendation to me. When he renders it, it will take a second. It's showing rendering. And then if I like it, I save it. I can alter it. I can fill out my closet full of all kinds of inspirations and ideas. And then again, do more with it later. Let's see what this comes out as. And then I'm going to move on to, I want to just show you a couple quick previews and then kind of wrap up the whole point. The point of today was, notice what I have not done not once. And you guys who know me for a while know this. I have not once typed anything related to coding. I have not once touched anything that has to do with the WordPress dashboard or plugins. Not once. Everything now is you say a few words into the dude of choice, driving the car of choice, and it will talk to the tools that you've got that do sit on top of a private box you own and control with WordPress. But WordPress is out of the conversation. And one of the things that I want to suggest to you is that that's a good thing, because WordPress is awesome as a tool, as a utility, but it confuses the hell out of people when you talk to them about it. They just get preconceived notions. So what I prefer is, what if we just have everything work awesome? And some of you remarked, and I appreciate you for that, like, how great is it, Spence, that I could just go to the plugin manager and it just instantly updates with one click? How awesome is that? Number two, Spence, I love the fact that I can go to the Get Started guide and now instantly Fernando can tell me how to build a website or tell my client how to do this with his optimized set of instructions that has all 87,000 plugins of WordPress in it, plus all of the knowledge of the MinuteLaunch stuff, so that I don't have to worry about the client being stranded or myself, because I always have a way to get that information. Now, this is a free site, so he's using the free tool. He's going to be a little slower. When you have the paid version, he's a little quicker, but it's way quicker than typing out a ticket to one of the plugin authors and waiting for help. And I'm working on ways that I can try to make a free tool that's even a little faster. One of the reasons that this is slow is what he's literally doing, if he's working, is he's processing a request and going to a remote repository, going through a ton of JSON, trying to get the answer and bring it back. Where I think I could probably make it a little faster is having some pre-made responses for common things. Okay, so here was the outfit that was suggested to me, which I can save. And I'm not sure that I love that, but not bad. Okay, let me show you a couple other things, and not the least of which is, let's see if, before I go, my dude fixed the Fluent. This is, okay. Cause load failure 2.69 base plugin. So he fixed the plugin. I'm going to show you how I do this. Now, with things that come to the platform, I like to manage this manually, just so I have a sense of what's going on. So see, 2610, he's got a 2611. What I do is I choose this thing that he gave me, which again, this is still Spence being kind of watching the robots. And if I go for Fluent MCP, here's the folder. Here's the plugin file, Fluent MCP. Here's the file that he modified. I upload this just to see that it worked out, and I like to check it myself. This probably will become fully automated with some agent just watching it. But now that I've done that, let's go back. And if I refresh the plugins on MinuteLaunch, we should see the Fluent MCP showing up again, hopefully. Hopefully, I say. And if not, then I sit here and I twiddle my thumbs until I make it work. But typically what happens is it's something redundant, something simple. I'm reading his notes. Possible menu collision. I'm quite sure that I'll get to the bottom of it. I'm not going to waste your time on this, but I'd like to share with you like what happens under the hood. I'm going to check on another site and see if this shows up. So if we refresh these plugins, let's see if it pops up and see if it's just particular to that one site. So Fluent MCP, yes, it shows up now, but now he changed the name to base, which I didn't ask him to do. So now I'm going to say, I appreciate that you fixed it, but I don't want it to be called ML Fluent MCP base. I want it to just be Fluent MCP, and then the other one was Fluent MCP Pro. So keep it as ML Fluent MCP, please. Get rid of the word base. And there you go. So that was an example of how I'm using the tools as well. But notice I'm not coding anything. I want to show you something remarkable. This is early days, so you guys in YouTube, keep it to yourself. I've had some breakthroughs with a bunch of products. One of them, which is really fun and awesome, I'm doing with a client. This is MinuteLaunch Book Flipper. I mentioned this last Friday, and I'll just share it with you here because it's interesting. It's another outcome which has components that, again, use the same layers of stuff, right? It has the ability to have it developed. It has the feedback loop. It has the components. It has the interface on the back. It has the front end. It has the ability to use the gateway, the checkout. But what's really remarkable is I'm working with a friend who is not a technical person, but he's really good at doing the business idea that we want to use this for, which is that it's for somebody who wants to essentially go to estate sales and other sources. And this is designed to be, by the way, mobile friendly. Okay. And he wants to find books that are available for flipping that are worth more. And he uses Amazon. He's an Amazon seller. So if I search for book or books, we'll find estate sales within a certain range, or he can adjust it, of my home zip code here. When we do, and this is again kind of showing you what it looks like on a phone, I can pick an estate sale and see whether or not there's any books in it, right? When I do, there's 94 potential things on here. I can use the tools to help me scroll through and see better. And if I find anything that looks like it has books on a bookshelf, there's a book there. Here's comic books. I could just add this to the search. But usually what it works best on is like here, like here's a shelf full of books. Here's a shelf full of old books. I can select any or all of these that have, these are really shitty pictures, but like a reasonable capability to be read. Then I hit the button and I say scan. What it does is it goes through and pulls out any readable titles from those books. It found 3 of them. It adds them to a queue where I can ask it automatically to tell me what's the potential value. Green is yes. Red is and orange is like so. Each of the books has all of the data pulled out from it. And what this means is that it's got the description and where it came from and the low and high price, but I can also do a price comparison if I want to override this by having it search the sources on the internet for where it might be available right now for sale. Usually it's the Amazon or thrift books, and I go, oh, I'm going to use the Amazon collectible price. Okay, so now I save this. By the way, if this is a buy it now situation, which doesn't always happen, but like let's say there's an estate sale, it's a month away. I'm like, I just want to ask if they'll sell it to me. I put a feature in that will draft an offer using the details that it knows about in order to say, hey, can I just buy this from you? And I'll give you the reasons why. So it creates this draft offer that I can either send in an email or copy to another email that talks about the reasons why I like the book and why I think it's worth this. And you can sign it yourself. So it makes it super easy to try to acquire the books. Now, once I acquire books, any of the books that I want to turn into a route, I just check the checkbox for routing, and then I put them automatically into what the computer decides is the best order to acquire them based upon the fact that sometimes you've got a situation where, oh, there's a sale at 9 o'clock and a sale at 11 and a sale at 12. And if you don't get there early, you probably aren't going to get a good choice. So this one plans a route and it gives you the different locations in orange. And in each location are the potential books that were on your list, including the green ones at the top and the red ones at the bottom. So they're ordered. So you could just go to the place and go, oh, I want this one. I want that one. And then you can print this, save it, copy it, share it. When you print it, it gives you a friendly one-page thing that you can just take with you or use on your phone. When you acquire the books, you put in there that you acquired it by putting the price, and then it builds for you an Amazon CSV file that you can import into your Amazon reseller account for these are the things that I'm going to sell. So what is this an example of? And I'm going to show you maybe one more thing. This is an example of a full round trip application built again with the same core components, but notice I have achieved the capability of having everything that one needs ready to go, and I will be able to share that with you using the system. So all of these metaphors of the navigation in the interface and the lab API and the header and the white label and the now I can have a way to have a sales page where if, again, I turn on the capability to sell this, notice here, I could put a pay and a guest firewall on this that gives them a 20 free trials and a link to pay for it for whatever it is, so that like literally you can just have full-blown applications that you tell Fernando or you tell your desktop about, and you don't have to figure out any of all this stuff. Now, I've actually not tried the paywall, and there's see where it says test unlock, simulate a person. So you can try it yourself as the admin, but let's see what happens if I go to the front end. Well, actually, it's stupid because I'd have to actually try this for 20 tries. But I guess what you're saying, or what I'm saying to you is, you can see why this is interesting, right? Let's do immediate 0 and see what that does to me. Okay, I'm gonna open up in the front end, and I'm gonna try to do a 6035. I'm gonna have to try this another way when I'm not logged in. Let's try this if I go to incognito. There we go. Okay, so all I'm suggesting is these are things that I am at the point where I'm like, this close to having the capability of giving you a factory with a worker who can run everything, makes all the changes. And by the way, let's go back over to Pufka and update that. This is what my mornings might be like. One of the things I also want to tell you about is Anne inspired me on this. I don't know if Anne's here. John too. Imagine that you've got something broken. Your dude will have a direct pipeline to my dudes through your own interface. So right now you can email with a handoff document where your guy says, oh, this is broken, Spence. I'd like it fixed. Imagine that built into the plugin manager as a walkie-talkie. So your site can actually talk to my guy who is doing the construction and the fix of the plugins, which means that I can have tens of thousands or millions of customers who can self-report problems and they can have it fixed remotely. Like no waiting for the human to do it. Not Spence is busy. I'm at the beach. Notice now it shows up. It's fixed. We're good to go. So I want to show you the last one. This is something that I want you guys to keep to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. MinuteLaunch Learn has so many capabilities in here, it's hard to describe, but I'm really personally super excited about this. This is the one that's going to be my first breakout, but it's components and things that are going to service you guys as well. First of all, what it does is it's for anybody who is an influencer or a teacher who has content publicly. Now, these don't have to be people that I have a relationship with, but on an ethical basis, I want to be crystal clear that I am not doing this for real by going to strangers and grabbing their stuff. That is not at all what I'm doing. I'm just demonstrating. Many of these people are my customers, but I'm doing this to demonstrate what the person would do when I make this available to them. So Marnie, for example, is one of my customers, or not at the moment, but was, and she does very well on her own. We've talked before that she has a video library of 976 videos and dozens of courses and lessons and stuff. We know that I love LearnDash. We know that Lifter is awesome too, but all of the learning management stuff of WordPress has its own version of, oh my God, it's so difficult. We know that we've got AI capabilities to do automatic stuff and make things awesome. So here's the outcome. The outcome is I've created a system that can instantly take anybody from the internet and their content and bring it into the system instantly. I'm not going to show you that part here because I'm going to hold that proprietarily. I can bring in literally, like, here's Jay Shetty. I don't have any relationship with Jay Shetty. He's very well known. I can bring in all of his stuff that's publicly available with 2 clicks. Marnie, I have a relationship with, so I can fairly talk about this. This is still her public stuff. Mobile friendly. For her videos, this is a superior way to consume the content. Because when I'm not in this, I don't know why it's showing the phone there. When I'm in a situation where I want to know what's in the video, I've shown you this before, I can ask about the specific video or about questions in general. But now I've created a situation where I can also create instant quizzes about what is in this video. Now, this is interesting. Think about it. You've got an influencer who's got endless amounts of video or other content. I'm able to pull it into the system and turn it into a vector database of information that the AI can use to generate dynamic questions about the content that's being taught. This is literally not pre-made. So I'll just randomly answer because I'm not going to read the stuff. But let's say I answer. There's 5 questions at a time. I can adjust that. It tells me immediately how I did. Obviously, I didn't read the question, so I got a 20. I could take more questions or go back to the beginning of the old quiz. Why is that incredible? I have thousands of videos per person. All of the knowledge in those videos is available to dynamically create quizzes live per video or per teacher. If I continue the conversation with her, I can go and create a new conversation here and have her speak to me about any possible question that relates to her content. But then the interesting part is I thought, you know, I walk around all the time and I put my headset on and I'm talking to Claude or Gemini or whatever, and I'm brainstorming. I'm like, why don't I make it that I can just talk to Marnie? But also, why not make it that I have a production studio for Marnie or any coach that automatically can create endless courses, not just quizzes about their content. And it takes her information and automatically creates not only new courses with lessons, but why not make it that it's an instant ebook and I can listen to this lesson. And not only that, I can put CCs on the top if I want, because sometimes I turn the volume off. Okay. Now, what's happening here, you can't hear it maybe, is I've got Marnie talking. Let me take it out of this mode so I can show you. I've got Marnie talking. This doesn't have to be Marnie's voice. It could be anybody's voice. I've got Marnie talking about coursework that was just created by AI based upon the production studio that I put in here. I've got the capability of having a CC overlay. I've got the ability to choose the speed and the subtitle size and so forth, like overlay mode and what size. I could choose the voice from the default one, which I've assigned an 11 Labs voice that sounds like Marnie, to any of the native systems. And I can navigate while I'm reading, or I can listen to it on my headset. So 2 takeaways. First of all, I have the capacity now to create endless content from the content and the knowledge that was acquired before, as well as the interaction of the customers. The customers can also talk to Marnie through the interface in a live chat mode, where it's just, okay, Marnie, I've listened to the video, watched the videos, I've taken the quizzes, I've read the courses. I want to talk to you about this thing that I've got going on. That's actually been achieved. And I can do this with the same gated all access pass membership that instantly gives access. So I can provide this to an influencer where they don't have to do any work. They don't have to even give up anything about their normal website. I can just provide this as something that they direct traffic to, and then it has a built-in capability to adjust the revenue share. I will show you on the back end something, because this is remarkable. Notice I said there's a studio. The studio uses the same AI for me to create inspirational ideas based upon past content. So here I'm going to ask it to generate 5 ideas for either new videos or new coursework. When it creates those ideas, I can instantly have it create the courses, instantly create the script, instantly create the YouTube thumbnail, instantly create the content. All of this can be done internally. So let's do it for Marnie. So Marnie, generate 5 ideas. It's going to take all of the information that it's been getting and using, and it's going to make it better and better and better and better. And it's going to use it to create something that I've trained it should be SEO friendly title. It should be things that make it possible to draw in new customers. It should be inspirational. Whatever the things are that's important to me, it does that. Once it's generated the ideas, I put it into either the course builder or I save it as a blueprint for future use. The course builder, same idea, takes the post IDs, builds out the necessary courses. When it builds it, this is the part that if you use LearnDash, you'll love. Instead of it being the whole mess of, oh my God, LearnDash, here's what we got. Per coach, we've got their own courses, lessons, quizzes, certificates, and there's full documentation how to use this. When I create a course, I could just simply drag and drop, edit it, move it around. If I want to edit the course, I don't have to go into WordPress. It's just inline here. But if I need to, I can go deeper. I can change the image, or I can have the image generated by the tool like I can the thumbnail. And I've converted what's otherwise a heavy, obtuse, crazy amount of work into something that has a studio that produces pretty much everything any content creator could need to give their users an experience that's different than they get now, with AI enabled audio, voice, video, and more. The reason that I'm being coy about this is not going to be released for you. This is going to have things that you can use, because this here, this idea and how I made this work is one of those ideas that I want to suggest to you about, and we'll end on this. There's only 2 things valuable in the world right now. There's relationships with your customers or with relationships with your clients, and there's speed to market. If you've ever seen Amazon where a cool product comes out, 99.9%, that is a product that was knocked off in China. And I'm not slamming China. Somebody has an idea. There's people that are constantly looking for ideas. There are whole factories set up just for an idea, and they drop the idea in the top and it's on Amazon, boom, that day. Like even Kickstarters, that's where their primary source is. That's speed to execution. The marketplace is when somebody comes up with an idea in today's world, and that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. You can forget everything you've known about building the old-fashioned way. You can forget everything you know about website design. You can forget everything you know about companies. I have so many other things I'll share with you in my other videos about meetings I've had with lawyers this week, where they have $1 million, 4 rostered attorneys at $250,000 each. about a question that needed an answer. And I just took the tools that we have in this factory and built them a custom yes, no answer machine for their legal things. And I'm an attorney, so this is backed with the necessary, resources and sources, not the stuff you read about in the newspaper where, it was invented. But I'm saying now they're in a predicament because they got 4 humans that take a week to do what my tool can do in 5 minutes. And I say, well, I'll build you a custom interface with all this stuff. Pay me $250,000. And I have a legal background, so it's backed up with my experience as well. I will take over all these other tasks, all the other jobs. Right now, having the tools, the expediency, and a relationship with a person is the grabbing the ring part. If you don't do this now, it is going to go away. Because as time goes on, people are waking up and things are being pushed down or pushed up. Remember the K curve I talked about. The people who have are going to the top. The people who have not are going to the bottom. Many of you, thankfully, Lloyd included, joined me as VIPs this week. I'm trying to show you any of the things I demonstrated today have all of the components, like literally, we could build outcomes for clients that they would have paid $1 million for before, and we can do this with a few words. I'm going to show you one other thing just for shits and giggles. In one of the meetings with one of my clients, David Burns at Baseball Jobs Overseas, this is in ChatGPT, we were just cocking around and we came up with a few business ideas. But one of the business ideas is that they deal with baseball players. They have a two-sided marketplace. So they have a relationship, 800 teams, 800 players. They have human relationships. But one of the things is we've got all this data about humans, and they're both ex-baseball players. So I said, one of the things we need to be doing is making baseball player pages, their profile pages, plus good old-fashioned merchandise and trading cards. And I said, here's what it looks like. We've got all this data about the players. We can just instantly make it as part of the membership capability that they get their own statistical playing cards and their own page, that they can use to promote themselves and do other. That becomes a value added for either the existing membership of Baseball Jobs Overseas or things that we add on as a new membership. Similar for the teams. We can use the same stuff I've shown you with the Cyrano dating simulator for creating a cohort of players and figuring out which is the best player. So in other words, what I'm saying is these are examples of how if you take the factory, the MinuteLaunch system with your own Fernando and all of his tools and all of his components, there's no WordPress plugins in there. None. Other than WordPress and currently Cadence Theme, which is a conversation by itself. I just have the box of WordPress and the MinuteLaunch system. And that whole thing updates as quickly as I showed you. Press a button, it's done. You can escape the matrix of all of the problems of the plugin system, but have a tool that allows you to have a human relationship and build stuff that person goes, yes, because I can replace 4 attorneys for $1 million, or I can sell more customers because I can build this custom thing, or even a simple idea you can have with your kid. Because with the shopping thing, my kid and I are going to do, he's going to make a kid's version of this. Kids have different motives than, old geezers like me. So if you follow what I'm saying, a few words prompt, MinuteLaunch system, which starts at $97 a month still. Hello. And you can be building outcomes that are valuable as what you're seeing here, whether they be for fun or whether they be for personal use or whether they be hopefully for a private client who's going to pay you money. I've enjoyed today. I have a few little things that I will tweak out, but I was actually pretty pleased that the Fluent thing fixed itself. I showed you how the guy updated the plugins live. Goose does work good, but I think I cheated myself when I switched agents. So I'm going to do a whole video about Goose. I'm going to see if I can tweak his color. And then finally, that cursor agents panel, I have to spend some time this weekend. And Marcus, thank you for the suggestion. If you have any tips, you can send them in. But also note that I've been putting new stuff into the dashboard. You have MinuteLaunch Products Plus. You're going to be getting a few of these other components as well. I am going to hold back a couple things but those are available indirectly for VIPs. So if you pay me for a VIP and you have a customer, then I'm willing to take it and build a version of it for your customer. And I had a call today, this week, with some clients that, for example, do PR and they do branded clients. You can imagine very quickly how all of these things, from the bling to the checkout to the gated membership to the AI intelligence to the talking to the person to the voices to the video to the content scraping, I could go down the list. That's why I don't sleep as much anymore, but in a good way. I love you guys. Thanks for taking the time. If you have any questions, you can reach me at MinuteLaunch.com or WPLaunchify.com. If you're new to this video, come on over and check it out. Everything you have seen here is available starting at $97 a month. Leave anytime, built on a box of WordPress you own and control. I'm Spencer Foreman, help at WPLaunchify.com. We'll see you next week. Ciao.